My sister found out that she was getting sick she was on vacation, and she realized that something was not right. She actually found out on my niece's 9th birthday and her husband's 9-year wedding anniversary that she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer.
I found out I had breast cancer 6 years ago when I was 54 years of age. I was scared, but I just seemed to have a feeling that everything was going to be okay.
Well, I discovered the lump myself when I was in the shower one day. I couldn't believe that this was happening to me. I had gone through another operation for head and neck cancer earlier. I thought there's no end to how many cancers I'm going to get.
I've had breast cancer twice, so I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. First of all, you're sort of in shock. You just sit there and you go, what am I doing wrong?
We were actually over at my sister's house that night. She sat us down on the couch and said, "We have something to tell you." We didn't know what we were to expect because there had been no history of cancer in our family. And that's when she told us that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And then the unthinkable actually happened 6 weeks later. Her husband was diagnosed with cancer. He was given a terminal diagnosis. He lived 10 months. They went through surgeries, radiation, and chemo together up in the cancer center up at the hospital. She actually went through all the chemos and treatments, and she was good for about 1.5 years. And then my sister started having problems, so she went to the dentist. The dentist pulled her into the office and said, "We need to refer you back to your oncologist." I will never forget that day because my dad called me on the phone and said, "Your sister's dying, her cancer's back," and hung up the phone on me. I have never driven so fast over to my sister's house in my whole entire life. I get there and my sister comes over to me and says, "My cancer's back, you're gonna have to look after the girls, you're gonna have to help them pick out their wedding dresses, their prom dresses, and make sure they don't take jerks." And at that moment we both just fell to the floor crying, and I knew there was nothing they could do. My sister's cancer had come back.
I'd been going to have regular mammograms at the age of 50. The nurse did come across a lump in my breast. The results of the mammogram, they came back and it was negative. Everything was good. But there was this little thing in me that bothered me a little bit about what she thought she may have felt. I went to my family doctor then. So she sent me for an MRI, and it was the MRI. The results picked up clusters of tumors in my breast.
I had just had a mammogram earlier that year and it was negative. Plus I had just completed a round of chemotherapy and radiation treatment for another cancer operation that I'd had. Anyway, I went to my doctor and they did a mammogram, then they did an ultrasound, and I still wasn't too concerned. However, when they asked me to come next day for a biopsy, then I started getting worried. And it turned out to be positive.
And it just makes you sit back and go, oh my goodness. Even my family, we had just watched my sister-in-law pass away for lymphoma and go through all the treatments. And my family was quite upset. My daughter was quite upset. So I had to go through the treatment, radiation and chemo. So that was one thing, finding out you had breast cancer and you said, oh well, maybe I'll just make radiation. Then finding out you had to go through chemo. That really, you're sort of numb for a while. And then what happened was I went through my treatment, and then 3 years later, I go in for my yearly mammogram. Another one was on the other side. I was devastated because I'd gone through chemo radiation. I thought I had, that was the idea of the chemo, was so it's going to kill everything. But not so.
My perspective on life has changed a lot. You need to go out there and do what you want to do. You need to go out there and live every moment like it's your last, because you never know what can happen. I just want to get the message across that everything can be all right after everything happens, and that you do survive after. It may kill you on the inside, but you can do it.
And I'm really thankful to the nurse. If it wasn't for her, it could have been a year later, and we just don't know what circumstances would have been then. My family, they were awesome. Our friends were awesome. I think maintaining a positive attitude helped. I became a little more close with Teresa Carrier. I think she gives so much of herself, and yet she also is a breast cancer survivor, and she's just a beautiful lady.
My family and my friends were my best support. You learn to appreciate your friends and just happy to be alive every day and feeling well. Things like reading a book or taking a walk. I think the main thing is to think positively.
I came out probably stronger. You grow as a person. I appreciated my life, like you really appreciate what you have. But at the end of the day, I realized you can get through anything. Everything sort of goes in perspective. And after becoming a breast cancer survivor, I became a grandmother. Every time I look at my grandchildren, I go, oh my goodness, I'm here to see them grow, and I want to make as much of that time as possible so that they will know me as a grandmother. So you really appreciate the little things in life.
Give it 110% because the money and what you are doing for breast cancer and breast cancer research helps so much that I can see it in my nieces now, because if it's not for this research and everything, who knows what my nieces might have to live with later on in life. And I think that this is the most important aspect of it.
It's such a worthy cause. It was a lot of fun participating, and the kids at JD2 are just amazing. It's just wonderful what they're doing, and I would encourage anybody to either participate or find sponsors, because it's a worthwhile cause.
Hi, I'm Teresa Carrier. I'm a breast cancer survivor of 7 years. I'm very fortunate to be here, of course, and I couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of supporters. ONERUN is more than just a fundraiser for breast cancer. It is about community coming together to do something that most think is impossible. ONERUN is about all of us joining forces so that we can find a cure or a solution to this cancer that has affected so many lives. John Paul has done amazing things for ONERUN with student staff getting involved and doing their own thing about southwestern Ontario, and we're all getting together in hopes of ending cancer.